Hey, so this 5-minute quickie has, I think, turned out into a slightly longer, not a long pod, but a short pod, but that type of thing. But it's going to make a complete difference to your life if you do it. If you do it, this little process I talk about and take action upon it, the old Cluffy guarantee is your life will change for the better. Massively changing your life for the good and the great and our integrated field of learning. Have a listen right now.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, have you ever thought about this? Every day when you wake up, you're a different you than you were before you went to sleep. And you're a different you the day before than the day before that and the day before that. And, well, what's that got to do with anything, Cluffy? Well, a long time ago, in my early days of these podcasts, we did a review of the podcasts. So what I'd covered and the type of things that had happened. And I thought it was pretty good to actually just review, to remind, a lot of it was to remind myself what had actually happened and how it changed. And as you know, I do a Q&A webinar for my son's Mind Mastery group. And I was doing one, I pre-recorded one this time because I'm going away on holiday and I wanted to have something for people because I wasn't going to be able to do a live one. And part of that webinar had a particular topic which I want to share with you now because I think it's such an important part of our personal development. But it doesn't have to just be for personal development. Okay, this is Personal Development Unplugged, and you're inside the unplugged mind of old Cluffy here. But you can use this process, this principle, for absolutely anything and everything. So it could be your relationship. It could be your career. It could be your health, your fitness, your spirituality. It could be any part of, which is all personal development, isn't it? To be fair, come on. The big global whole picture includes all of that. So the question I've got to ask you is, do you review how far you've come, progressed or changed since a particular time? Now, I know we do sometimes, but I don't think we do it very often. I know I don't. But when I do, I go, boom, what? I've moved so far. And the thing is, the second question I want to ask you is, what would happen if you did? Just sat for a moment and thought, what would happen if I reviewed last week, last month, maybe 6 months ago, or since I began something? Where am I now? Where was I then? Where am I now? Because I just know in this little bit of the fitness things I do, I've started doing a spin class. And if you don't know what a spin class is, it's when you get on a bike and people shout and there's music and you're cycling as hard as you can, and then you get up and go up hills which aren't there, and then you go on this flat road that isn't there, and all you hear is and that's normally me in the back making all those noises. But I have noticed after the first time, I thought back a little while, I've only been going about a month, and what made me notice what had happened was, about a fortnight after I started, I went to doing a particular thing in the gym, and it was not necessarily easier, but I recovered quicker, and I was able to do just that little bit more of intensity. And I thought, well, now I'll just have a look at what I'm doing in the spin class, and I noticed that my calories burnt were just slowly going up. The kilometres, mileage, was slowly going up. And it wasn't a case of I was putting more effort in, because I seemed to be putting about the same amount of effort in because I was absolutely knackered at the end of it. So it was the same amount of knackeredness, but I was achieving more and my recovery was better. Now, knowing that, I like to keep going because I know the benefits of it. So that little review, just of that tiny bit of my life, is going to help me get fitter and fitter, because then I check my blood pressure and things like that and go, oh, that seems to be getting a little bit easier. So there is then, you're starting to review the side effects of a particular thing, anything. But for me, that's a tiny, maybe a silly little example, but it was something that brought this home to me. So what would happen if you did? Because I'm sure, even if you do a review of the week, how far you've got, do you look at particular contexts of your life or your goals? Because, what gets measured gets done. And this is some form of measuring, and it's just a review. It's like this, taking a meta position, looking down and saying, okay, where were you? Where are you now? What can I learn from this? And that's the thing, what can I learn from this? Because maybe you're not making as much progress as you thought. Maybe you're making extremely good progress and you didn't realize it. Now, all of these things can suddenly change your world. So have to think, and I made a few notes about this, but have a think. How far back do you need to go? And this is where I certainly think you need a journal. I know I bang on about Jenny Journal, but I do think you need a journal of some kind. I've got hundreds, it's silly, Paul. I've got quite a few journals that I like to use for different things, and I think that's good that way. So I'd get my thinking journal, as it were, maybe, and just think, well, what contexts could I review? Because I think you need to have a little brainstorm first and just throw things out there. So, what are the different contexts? If I reviewed them, maybe they'd have an influence on how and what I did in the future. How far back should I go? So you could say, right, I want to go back a whole 12 months, even longer, to notice that, when I was doing my NLP practitioner training, I could have looked at a month or two and I would have seen some changes. But when I come back and review a year or 2 years, I'd be blown away. Suddenly realizing what was the norm now, 2 years back, was never in my horizon. And now all these wonderful things are in my norm. So then I can start to think of something else in a minute. But then you can also just notice, what should you compare this review to? I mean, you can just compare it to yourself. But sometimes I think it's good to compare it against others as just a little slingshot look at things, just to get an idea. Because sometimes you do leave people behind. We said about when you're on your hero's journey, some people come with you, some people don't. And sometimes it's interesting to see which people did come with you, which people didn't, and maybe you need to make an effort to just renew that contact, that connection again, because these things have maybe taken you away, and maybe you just want to work out and, review a different way of keeping in contact with people. So this thing has multiple uses or multiple implications. So just throwing those out onto one page of your little Jenny journal will start to get you thinking, I think. Because when you start thinking like that, and you ask the questions, I wonder what else, or I wonder what context, even when you go to bed or when you go and do something else, your best friend inside, your unconscious mind, will still be considering that question. And you may suddenly, as you're brushing your teeth or in the shower, suddenly get, oh, what about? And that's why it's good to have a journal, because then you can make a note of it, even if you don't think about it at the time. You make a note, and then when you come back, when you have your review time or your self time, it's all there, ready to start thinking again. It's not disappeared. So then, think of what type of results you might get. And I want you to think of the feelings that you actually feel when you review. Because, you might be amazed, you might be overjoyed, you might be saddened maybe. Or you may actually just notice that maybe boredom. I'm going to talk about on another podcast about boredom and things like that. But you might find that if it's boredom, you actually say, well, do I need to keep this going? And if I do, I've got to do something different to increase the intensity, or increase the skill level, or do something to get my excitement back again. So have a think about, when you're reviewing things, what's my feelings about this? Or what's my feelings when I'm doing it? Let's just review that, because when I'm in the moment, we're not really considering how we feel, because we're just doing what we're doing and feeling what we're feeling. And when you take this review, sometimes you can just notice the emotions are going through, your thought patterns. You might tend to think, well, how would you like to feel differently? How could you improve what you're doing then? Because this is the whole point of a review as well, isn't it? Not only just collecting data, because that's what we're doing, isn't it? We're collecting data, but thinking of how we can use this data. So one of the things, one of the data collection points of this is, what would happen if I made a ritual of doing this review, and then a ritual of making the changes I need to make things even better? Because even if you review and you go, do you know what, I'm amazed how much I've learned, and I'm amazed just how much I'm doing things differently and how I feel, you can always be even better, so much better. And when you've done that, you can do anything, absolutely anything. So I just want you to think, also just what type of sense of achievement you get from doing all of this. What is that sense of achievement? And then how can you replicate this sense of achievement into your current goals and your future goals, or make it even better? Even better. Now, there's so many things you can think about. And I think it's just sometimes just having that little ritual of thinking about these things as well. But try it. I urge you just to try it for a bit and notice. You will, I just know, the old Cluffy guarantee, this will help you leaps and bounds in anything that you review. Because as long as you do something with it, there's no point in just listening to these podcasts and not doing things. When you do this little exercise and then take action on this exercise, that's when you're going to notice a difference, the massive difference. And it's going to be exponential, which I can never say properly, but that's how the difference in your world will be. So have a play. And for those of you who have signed up for the hypnosis tracks, as you know where they are, paulcloveonline.com/hypnosis, I did do a hypnosis track for the Q&A webinar I mentioned earlier. And I think I just might be sending that out as a free gift. So just notice it probably won't be on the that particular my online website. It'll come to you as a download by email. So just keep your eyes and ears and your junk box, well, just put me in the white list, I think they call it, or whatever, and notice maybe there'll be a little gift coming your way. Anyway, enjoy with every heartbeat. Please, 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 just make everything even more better. Have fun. In fact, have more fun than you can stand. I'll speak to you real soon. Hey, don't go just yet, because I've got a couple of things I just want to say. This is a new ending, okay? So, sharing. As you know, these podcasts are all free, but there is a cost. There is a cost. It's only cost to me, but there's a cost to you. And I'd love that cost to be in like a pay it forward type way that is in a nice way, that we have this integrated field of learning and we share the things that we enjoy and the things that we learn from. So if you've learned anything from this particular podcast, I'd love you to share it with as many people as possible, but certainly the people who you feel it could help with, or any other podcast, or just the podcast unplugged thing in general. That would be awesome. Do it in iTunes, and you can do it in Castbox. But if you just share it, send an email. Doesn't take that long to do the sharing, and that would be great. So we build up this community that's really caring about the world that we live in and wanting to, evolve and create an environment that evolves with us. That would be great. If you could do that, it'd be brilliant. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love you to subscribe, either in iTunes, Castbox or any other thing, but a little review in either iTunes or Castbox, iTunes preferably, would be absolutely brilliant. 5 stars, absolutely awesome, but a lovely review would be great. Thank you so much if you do. It doesn't take a second, it takes about 2 minutes really. So if you could do that, and there's links on my paulclough.co.uk how to do that, and then in a lot of the other postings I do. So it's all around there. It's easy to do. iTunes, search my name. The other thing is, remember those hypnosis tracks. They're all together. They're all downloadable. So you can put them on any device, listen to where you want. You don't have to worry about crappy Wi-Fi and things like that. They're all there for you. Just go to paulcloughonline.com/podcast. Emails, totally safe. I will not share them with anybody ever. That's the Cloughie guarantee. So do that. That would be absolutely brilliant too. What else is there? Anything? I don't know. Have more fun than you can stand. Have got a new website starting. It's called the Personal Development Unplugged.com. It's where you can find all these podcasts as well. There you go. Have a play. Website not quite done yet, but you can have a look at it. Give me a comment on the design. I'd love you to have a little bit of feedback. And very last of all, I know I've gone on too long now, but if there's any subject, anything you'd like me to talk about, if you have a problem, please do put it to me. If I can't talk about it, I will give you some advice via email. Please just get in touch, because I want to share what I know with everybody and everybody. Anyway, have more fun than you stand, and I'll hear from you really soon. Bye-bye.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.